Yo, this is King Earner coming to you guys live and direct.
And I am Leek Moss, the sturdiest of the sturdy.
And this is the Circle of Honor podcast. Oh, we got another honorable episode, man. I gotta say this is gonna be very educational here. I was gonna say entertaining, but there's nothing entertaining about the truth. And, a lot of people don't like to adhere to the truth when it comes down to what our honorable guest we have tonight comes with, and that's Majtoure. Welcome, Majtoure.
What's up, yo?
I think it's a pleasure to have you here because we have understanding that a lot of people don't really have understanding of what Black Guns Matter is. They see it. I mean, there are millions of people who do have understanding. We went to New Orleans and we got that understanding.
Yeah.
But our community, sometimes they seem to drift off to the fact of guns and they think violence.
Yeah.
I know Leek Moss, he's always been interested in this, so he's geared up. I want for you to please give us the understanding of Black Guns Matter.
Yeah. First, thank y'all for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be on a podcast that is in alignment with certain principles. And I think that a lot of times in the entertainment field, I know that a lot of times in the entertainment field, there's a lot of principles swaying. And it's good to sit down with brothers that have a standard and will not bend, break, or fold that standard for anything or anyone. So that's first and foremost.
Appreciate it, man.
Black Guns Matter is, we're a firearm training organization that deals with the racist practice of gun control. A lot of times what will happen is folks will say, oh, gun ownership, that's racist. When in reality, gun control was the thing that was started to stop black folks in America from having the means to defend themselves. So we just the organization that goes across the country. We have a solutionary center here in Philly. We just train people on safe and responsible firearms ownership, which comes with conflict resolution, de-escalation, knowing how to respect the human right to self-defense. And that conversation goes into so many different lanes. It goes into conversation about, what is the Second Amendment? Why is this human right to protect our life so uniquely fixated in the American, lexicon? And it just takes us in so many different ways. So saying that to say that's why the Solutionary Center is so important, because we can't just have a firearms conversation if we're not talking about avoiding conflict.
Exactly.
Or de-escalation, or even stop the bleed classes, because you might need to know how to tie a tourniquet just from a car accident, know? And so that's in essence what our organization is. That's what we do. And we just tell the truth, as you stated, about, what it means to be a safe and responsible firearms owner.
Well, the conversation everybody always say nowadays for some odd reason when they see Black Guns Matter shirt, they always say, oh, he's associated or he honors anything that Donald Trump has going on. And, me per se, maybe I shouldn't give my opinion. I don't have a problem with what Trump has going on myself.
Yeah.
Leek, what do you feel like about Trump? How do you feel about Trump and his association with Trump?
Well, I'm not really sure the association that he has with Trump, but I don't have a problem with Trump.
Okay, we just wanted to put that out there because I know.
Should I have a problem? Should I have a problem with Trump? Somebody give me a reason.
Yeah.
To have a problem with Trump, a legitimate reason.
I
didn't see one.
There's two things that they're trying to make us real binary. Like, we not allowed to say, I agree with this part, but I disagree with that part. Like, somehow, if you go, okay, let's be honest, the economy during the Trump administration was humming. But I think he was horrible on the Second Amendment.
Deep.
I don't think that he was the greatest for gun ownership. He's stated as saying, take the guns first, due process second when it relates to red flag laws. He got the bump stock ban happening, and that's been overturned by the Supreme Court since then. But you got more federal restrictions on firearms in one term than Obama did in two. So I think not being binary, being able to say, I love them on the economy.
Right.
I mean, it was, yeah, we're not doing that. We're not going over there. Get us out of that accord. We're not doing that. I can say that and then say, I think he was weak on the Second Amendment, even with him having the support of the NRA, who traditionally is not a strong Second Amendment organization. They've been behind all of the federal anti-gun legislation since the 1960s with the Mulford Act. So there's a way to say a fuller conversation. And to your question of how, because so many people go, oh, black guns matter, you must be down with the Trump. If you are a Second Amendment supporter or activist, you are going to be in a room with Republicans. That's what's going to happen. A lot of Republicans shoot. What they won't tell you about that is that I love when they pick and choose. They won't say Frederick Douglass was a Republican. They're not going to say the first 13 political candidates that happened after emancipation, they literally were black Republicans because the Democrats was like, we're not giving y'all a voice to vote. They won't have that conversation, but they'll try to flip it and make it seem like, oh, because you are this. Never mind the conversation about we live in a constitutional republic. It's not a democracy. Democracy means mob rule. So that association is like a trick bag because they'll tell you half of the story. Then they'll tell you the other half is supposed to be negative, but they won't tell you why. And then they will also package it as if firearms ownership is only something that I'm a libertarian. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. So they'll try to package it that way to make, in my opinion, young black men not be involved in it because they got a different spell on young black men's mind. You're supposed to be a Democrat off top. You're supposed to be this. You're supposed to be that. And you definitely ain't supposed to be safe and responsible as a gun owner. So they try to package all of that together to make you say, oh, you must be with the extreme right-wingers. And I get it. If I was the bad guy, I would do it too. It's a good chess move. So, but it's just a chess move. It ain't the reality.
Now I'm understanding that, how you see the community and you see individuals doing things with guns they have no business doing. Mm-hmm. That's not what you're here for.
No.
You're not here saying, hey, everybody, pick up a gun and go do wrong things with these guns.
No.
What is the number one thing that you would teach a young man that's 12 years old, 10 years old, and he's coming up, and his thing is that he knows in his community, he comes out every day, there's a shooting or there's something that's going on, so he's thinking of guns in a boom matter. But what would you give him?
Oh, man, that's a layup. That young person, I wouldn't even have conversations with that young man about firearms yet. There's trauma associated with that young man. That conversation would be more about healing, about what's his diet like? What's his discipline like? Does he work out? Does he, how much water is he drinking? Right? And some people think that these are things that's not related, but it's the sum total of a lot of small things. So when we start teaching that young person about conflict resolution and de-escalation, when we start showing that young man, hey, this is what you're passionate about, and then we work on him getting some money behind the passionate thing that he's interested in, he's gonna be so focused on his discipline, his learning, and that skill set and making money off of it, he don't really have time to be involved in as much silly shit. Because that conversation isn't about a gun. He has been programmed to believe that the firearm for him is just, I'm gonna get outside and this is how I'm gonna prove my worth. A firearm is like how you defend your property values. Your property being your body and your stuff, right?
Correct.
But if this person's property, he doesn't feel like he has any property values, we gotta change his mind and help him build up equity in his property.
Exactly.
So then that's the conversation with that person. Then after we've informed that thought process, obviously we'll go through conflict resolution and de-escalation and firearm safety. But then we have to have genuine conversations about why does he think that firearm is the thing that's going to define his manhood? Because it's not. And when that person gets to that understanding, I can get that young man to be straight and narrow all day long. Then don't let me take him somewhere where he shoots clays, right? Like fake pigeons that they shoot up in the air. And he shoots those. And don't let me show him, yo, this is a firearm, a fully automatic firearm that I purchased 5 years ago for $15,000. I just sold it last week for $35,000. So now we're talking about firearms as an investment. Now we're talking about the most decorated Olympic victor of all time is a woman. She's a shooter. More than Phelps, the swimmer, more than everybody. She's an Olympic shooter. So now we're talking about he potentially could get if he want to go the college route, he can get a scholarship for skeet shooting.
Oh, man.
There's so many different areas that have, and mind you, we walked him into the conversation about firearms, but we haven't had a conversation about violence or taking or defending life at all.
At all.
So the narrative usually is very limited. It's packaged as if, we're saying just the tool of a gun is going to solve our community's problems, and it is not. Will it solve some of the violent crime issues in our community? Based on the data, yeah. Most of the areas where people have more safe and responsible firearms owners is less violent crime. You ain't running in nobody's house in Texas. You already know what the theory with Texas is going to be if you go in their crib.
It's over.
It's over. So really, that young person, we got to start reshaping that person's way that they view the world. And I think that sometimes we erroneously associate firearms owners with this thing that is like almost inhumane. Like somehow we cool with death. We just want the death.
Right, that end of it.
You know what I'm saying? And so then when we finally got to a conversation about starting about firearm safety with that type of young man, we will be very critical of him on, you are responsible for your actions with, around, and involving this firearm. You are accepting the responsibility that comes along and the accountability for this firearm. You fuck this up, we not fucking with you. Those are your consequences. If you use that firearm for anything other than its intended purpose, and that intended purpose being investment, hunting, sport shooting, or defending life, I don't give a fuck what happened to you. You pull that firearm out on somebody, not in defense of life, we ain't cool at this point. Because not only are you going to make it hard for yourself because you're going to jail, you're going to be recycling the crime, you also going to make it better for actual safe and responsible firearms owners because the media is going to say, see, this is what happened when we get a young black man to firearms. So it's a holistic approach to that, but that conversation about the firearm with the young man that has that trauma from the beginning, so many conversations and deeds and actions that we share with that young person before we even get to the firearm conversation.
Yeah, that was I was gonna ask you, answered what I was gonna ask you to a T. Because when you think of black guns, most people when they think of Black Guns Matter, they think of it as all just give them all guns and just let them go crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you broke that down. So I want to get into where did Black Guns Matter come from?
Yeah. So it started in 2015 in the beginning of the Trump election or presidential campaign. And you know how every couple of years they come to the hood, yo, you gotta vote. We're gonna make a change. It's gonna be hope. It's gonna be all of this, right?
Some type of hope going on.
And I'm just like, y'all, and then the following voters registration drive. And me and my friends was like, yo, we don't need a voters registration drive. We need a license to carry drive. Based on the data, more as licenses to carry have went up over the last 30 years, historically, violent crime has went down. That's not me making it up. That's the FBI, Department of Justice statistics. So we was like, we need a license to carry drive. We did an event at a gun. It was called Philly Firearms Academy. It was across the street from the old, where you used to get the license to carry on Spring Garden, right around the corner from the gun range. And we thought like 30 people gonna show up. Man, like 300 people showed up. I'm talking about from Jersey, from New York. And it exposed, because it was just, we're gonna fill out your license to carry paperwork, we're gonna help you. Man, people came through, yo, I live in Brooklyn. I'm like, damn, how did you even hear about this?
Right.
They showed up. We would link them with people in New York, New Jersey, whatever. And right then at that moment, I was like, yo, this has to continue. It was so many people that was just so happy that they had some guidance. Just here go the information. All we did was firearm safety. We fed the people, we talked, and we serviced the community. And they just left so happy, man. And we was like, yo, what if we did one of these in 13 cities, like the first 13 colonies?
Right.
Number 13 got a spiritual, connotation to it. So we was like, all right, let's do it. And we put a GoFundMe up. At the time, we was on GoFundMe. Put a GoFundMe up, and we said, yo, let's raise 25 grand to do 13 cities. It'll be a shoestring budget, but it's just a class.
Exactly.
Man, we did that joint. We hit the number. We hit the 13 cities. And we was just like, yo, we did it. Man, we got so many emails from motherfuckers like, yo, that's fucked up. You ain't even come to our town. You don't care about us.
Mm.
And I'm like, yo, I just raised and gave away 25 grand to do this. And they like, yeah, but you came to the big cities. What about these small towns? They got these policies that's anti-gun. And then I just kept going to Twitter. I would just ask, yo, y'all, we just did the 13 cities.
Right, what's up?
Y'all think we should do? And every time we did that, people would say, yo, raise more money. You should raise the budget from 25,000 to 100,000.
Okay.
And do these cities. And we just kept going. And we would hit the 100,000. And then people would be like, keep going. Till when we got to 250K, the whole Twitter was like, yo, just make the goal $1 million. And just do every state in America. And I was like,
seriously?
Y'all think we should just do it? And they was like, yeah, just keep going. And because we don't take no government funds, it's all voluntary donations, people was happy. We cracked that $500,000 mark about a year and some change, maybe a year ago, right? Mind you, we raised this money and gave it away.
Exactly.
Then GoFundMe started doing something crazy. They took some of the money from the truckers in Canada that was opposing the vaccine mandates. So we hopped off GoFundMe. Then we went to Give, Send, Go. And since then, we raised like another $167,000. Just raising this money to just give people information. And it not, so the funny thing is motherfuckers be like, oh, the community needs to pull itself up by the bootstraps. This is literally it. We gave away $600K.
Yeah, what else could,
And when we did it, we said, we gonna make the black community the largest gun buying demographic in America. We did that within 3 years, and at the time, we had only raised about $300,000.
Mm.
So the number one largest gun buying demographic in America now, since 2020, is black people, and it's mostly black women. And I contend the reason why it's mostly black women, because years ago, Joe Biden and his team got a lot of us locked up, so we got those Fs on our jacket, so we can't lawfully purchase the firearm.
Mm.
And that was all a part of the play. So that's where we came from. That's how it kept snowballing. And now the remainder of the money that we're going to raise is going to go to finish buying the building that we got outright. You know what I'm saying? And that's just, you do some work, the people going to support it.
Now, all the supporting is going on, and here it is. You look up, and this young man came in 12, 13 years old, under your responsibility, accountability, everything that has to do with your training, and you look up, and he hasn't received any type of negative feedback from the community where it restricts him to get a gun license.
Right.
Now he has graduated to having that gun license.
Right.
What we get in the community sometime, we'll get individuals that, let's say if they made it to receiving a gun license, they get this sense of security like,
I'm good now.
I'm good now. And, hey, Maj, I'm going to get with you this week. And what happens is that teaching and that learning, it stops because we have understanding when they let the lifers go at a certain age, their brains haven't really reached its full capacity, and they got the gun license at 21, but they're still not learning, and they're growing somewhere else mentally. How do you keep them strongly involved to keep them in that range of, I know you hold me down the street, they got a felony that's strapped with the pistol. Look, you can't carry it like him.
Yeah.
You can't have that mindset like him. Now that you have gotten your license to carry, how do y'all keep him sturdy?
You keep them sturdy by, one, firearms ownership and training is a diminishing skill. It's not like riding a bike. If you don't drive practice, if you don't train, if you're not in good conditioning,
Correct.
health-wise, training, jogging, running, fighting, you gonna lose. The one of the biggest things that we say repetitively at our classes is bad guy gets a say. Your job is to try to make sure what that bad guy says, he has very limited options to make you an easy target.
Exactly.
So the bad guy always gets a say. What if your bad guy actually trains? So, and you not now, because you got the license and you cool. You're not cool. It's a diminishable skill. That keeps you on point. It's like the gym. If you go to the gym for a while, you recognize you're getting stronger.
Correct.
Take a couple of weeks off, 3 weeks off, you feel like, damn, I fell off. That's what anything. It's a diminishable skill. As well as the energy that is here to try to, I believe that there is a deliberate energy attempting to imprison, make unintelligent, make you weak, specifically for our community. That energy does not take a day off. It's not like chilling. Like, you know what? Right. It's Thursday. I'm gonna let the black community chill out this week. I'm gonna let them have a good time. Hey, don't go lock nobody up for petty shit this Thursday. That email never goes out.
Exactly.
So if I know that, and if I know you're a licensed to carry dude, and I understand that if you've went through that training and you at that space, you know that this is the diminishable skill and you have a bigger responsibility. We carry the power of life and death on our person. Like at any given moment, right, wrong, or indifferent, I can go on my waistband and take a life. That is a powerful responsibility. That means I am a very dangerous and potentially violent person.
Correct.
That has that under control. And if I'm not flexing that muscle to stay in control, avoiding conflict, de-escalating situations, recognizing that this tool is an absolute last resort to defend life. If I'm not doing that, we getting stagnant. The muscles are starting to atrophy. So we keep that person on point with that way, and we just don't hold quarter for people in their justification. If I hit a homie up and I say, yo, when was the last time you dry fired? Yo, when was the last time you checked the retention on your holster? Yo, what's your ammo stash looking like? Yo, are you training with are you switching over to red dots? Yo, are you what new books are you picking up on firearms ownership? Are you swimming? Are you jogging? What new type of fighting are you doing? What's your finances looking like? Because to the point we was having off camera, that poverty start kicking in, them hunger pains start kicking in, you might change your mind a little bit.
Exactly.
But if you got a good financial discipline, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if we start making sure that we sharing with these young guys that this is a holistic approach, it keeps them on point. And we cannot hold quarter. It's almost like we almost could look at you like a rat if you being irresponsible.
Principles start to shift.
The principles are shifting. And if you've made it to make this decision, take on this way of life,
correct,
it is a responsibility with it. And we can't give quarter to somebody breaking that responsibility. Because you're making us look bad as safe and responsible gun owners.
And I gotta say, man, because I always get caught up in learning more. Every time we have a conversation, I learn something more about having an understanding that I know I'm a felon. I can't carry a gun. You always make that known, and I always honor and respect that. But I'm also allowed to have training. I'm also allowed to have understanding because you don't never know when something's going on that you're around.
Yeah.
And that person that you don't know how to use the gun, and you can see him about to grab it and how he's about to go, and you want to be able to step up and say, hold on for a second.
Stop.
I know they're trying to kill us here, but you're going a little too wild. that gives me a sense of security. So that's why I always tell individuals when they ask me anything about a gun and I know that they're legal, I send them your way because I know you have the answers.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to say when they hear Black Guns Matter, they're not going to see the words on top and on the bottom. They're going to see guns. And that's what we need people to have an understanding that this is not a thing where we're joking about or we're playing about or we're looking forward for, yeah, hurry up, get your gun, your license to carry and be a criminal. No, that's not what we're preaching here.
Right.
We're preaching what Maj is given. I can't preach something that you're not given.
Right.
You know, you'll hear about it. People go against people what they do. Like you'll see a guy and you know the guy's the best swimmer in the world. Then they go ahead and the best swimmer in the world tell them, listen, this is where you get in the water, you do this, you hold your nose, you breathe, and they'll go and do the opposite. You can't do the opposite of what Black Guns Matter is bringing forth because then you fall into the subject of doing all type of clumsy things that harms not only others but yourself.
I think that's the biggest takeaway. It's like when I can learn from high level, like some of my friends are snipers. One of my friends has the most confirmed kills in war. I could call him and ask him questions. The responsibility of that, this person, his level of combat is far exceeds mine.
Exactly.
Only thing I'm doing is asking him questions, getting the answer, and shutting the fuck up. And applying what you said, do? Oh, all right. Yeah, okay. There's a psychological component that goes along with the humility of, hey, I don't know this answer. Who has the answer? Let me apply the information. That's a lot of times why women are sometimes our best students. Dudes, we tend to be like, I know what I'm doing. Women have a certain level of like, I don't know what I'm doing with this gun. Now, they might not listen to us in the kitchen or other places, but when it come to this, in the beginning, they like, nah, I'm gonna listen to exactly what you said. My point in saying that is, sometimes media outlets and all of that will spin, instead of listening to what you're actually fully saying, they'll spin it to be about a particular thing. Now, I'm absolutely on record as saying I do not trust the United States government.
Right.
Shit, white people don't trust the United States government.
Right, we're with you. I'm with you.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That does not mean that because of that, that means that I'm saying we cannot rely on that government for our personal protection. So why would I tell my community to outsource that protection? It's just backwards. It's like when all last few years, they was like, oh, defund the police, defund the police, defund the police. Okay, cool. But you can't say that and then say, we need to not have guns available. Only the police should have the guns. Which one is it?
Which one you want to do?
Now, I'm saying it's not their responsibility to protect you. They say it. They literally, it's a Supreme Court statute. The police have zero legal obligation to protect you. That's why the word protect and serve ain't on their cars no more. So, okay, cool. I'm good with that. I'm not asking you to come defend my life. If I have to defend life, unfortunately, you guys will come clean this dude up. And that'll be what that is. Y'all have a conversation with my attorney. And we'll move forward with life. But I'm not going to say y'all are corrupt and then rely on you for personal defense. It's a contradiction that media tries to spin on all different levels. Same as they try to say, Black Guns Matter means you only are focusing on arming people just for arming's sake. No, it's an arm to defend ourselves from all enemies, foreign and domestic. I am a student of the Constitution. You know, even when you mention, guys having F's on their jacket, right?
Right.
The Constitution in the Second Amendment is clear. It says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There is no asterisk that says unless you got convicted of a felony.
Now, just to really jump back on that topic of the felons getting the guns and them, going in that direction that they need to go into first to be qualified to get their gun license back. I always hear different things about a person is taking this kind of medication or how you have the marijuana law that come out now, and it's like, why does that stop an individual from getting their license to carry? An individual who is licensed to smoke marijuana?
Because gun laws in America, similar to cannabis prohibition in America, was started to directly target black people. So when you go to cannabis legislation, right, they'll say marijuana because they were trying to demonize Mexicans at the time.
Okay.
The person that became that made the legislation, no bullshit, how cannabis prohibition in America started was this guy. He wound up becoming like like what's now known as the DEA. He became like the first czar of the DEA, right? He said marijuana, because he didn't say cannabis, marijuana makes white women want to sleep with Negro jazz musicians. And then he crafted legislation off of that, and that's how cannabis prohibition and the reefer madness and all of that stuff started in America. So, same as cannabis laws started with that, gun control was started in America, black codes, slave codes, right after emancipation, to stop black people from having the human right to defend themselves. So the licensing, all of that is an infringement. Now, is it infinitely easier if you get a license to carry when you're dealing with law enforcement? Absolutely. But you cannot lawfully make a state statute that supersedes federal law. It's like Philly trying to make a rule that's in opposition to Pennsylvania Constitution. You can't make a state law that is superior to the supreme law of the land. In America, as it relates to firearms, that's the Second Amendment. The right of the people, the second half, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. A license is the government selling you your rights back to you.
Mm.
So if the supreme law of the land is the Second Amendment and there shall be no infringements, and this is their framework. The Bill of Rights was a list of rights that the founders to this nation said, okay, we got the Constitution, but we're going to add the Bill of Rights in here because these rights are granted by your creator, not given by government and cannot be taken away by government. The human right to self-defense, being the Second Amendment, is a natural right. America, when they formed it, just codified it. Other nations do not respect the human right, right? So let's go back to the First Amendment. The right, I have the free speech. Government cannot stop me from saying what I want to say. They don't grant me that right, and they can't take it away. If you convince a bunch of people to now pay attention to municipal or state so-called law, and it's not law because it can't supersede the federal law.
Exactly.
If you convince everybody to do that, then they'll think, oh, they only putting the licenses there to protect me. And they're not. It's not. There's nothing, if you get a driver's license and you're a reckless driver, just having the license doesn't help you be a better driver. Being proficient and practicing and not chewing food and texting and all of this at the same time, that makes you a safer driver. Not the license itself. That's just a test. But sometimes we equally associate driver's license with the human right to self-defense, the human right to freedom of speech. So they'll make it where these two licenses cancel each other out because both of them were there, created, so you wouldn't have the means to defend yourself in the first place. So if you have a lawful cannabis card and you go to a gun store and you try to purchase a firearm and the guy behind the counter, you show him your ID, and if he sees your cannabis card, he legally, because he's a FFL, Federal Firearms Licensee, he or she cannot sell you that firearm because they know that you participate in cannabis. And then some brothers will go, oh, they ain't want to serve me because no. He will potentially lose his license because cannabis is still scheduled 1 on the list. Heroin and cannabis is scheduled the same thing on a drug. No bullshit.
Damn.
Even though it's legal in most states in America.
Right.
So the concept in and of itself, when you peel back the layers and see gun control and the whole licensing component, even the amount of money that they charge certain people, they did that to price people out over time. Especially at that time, we couldn't afford whatever that number was. So the licensing part is just an infringement that is not in alignment with the supreme law of the land. That's why the Bruin case got turned over in New York State. For them to say, oh, you can have a gun, but you can't carry it on your person. The Second Amendment says the right of the people to keep and bear arms, meaning carry. So that got overturned. The people just have to fight against that. The brothers that have, and I mean that in a political sense, just, yo, we not participating with any politician that's not okay with saying all brothers that and sisters that go to jail and do their time, all of their human rights should be restored the minute that they walk out of that prison. The minute.
I agree.
Because otherwise, why would you want me to have a scarlet letter on me? Now you're making it harder for me to get federal funding for college. I can't live in certain low-income housing.
Talk about it, man.
Right? I no longer have the means to defend myself. Let's say I did 5 years, whatever issue I might have gotten into with somebody outside. Okay, I turned my life around while I was in the can. But the people that didn't come in, they don't give a fuck that I turned my life around. We haven't solved what the issue that got you in jail in the first place. So now I don't know how the means to defend myself if need be. If people galvanize this way, we could cut down on the recidivism rates. We could cut down on new crime. We could cut down on this black community not being politically active. Because now my voice is being heard again. Now I want to participate in the political process. So that's a voting block. No one that's listening to this should be offended. Every politician, every public servant should be 100% on board with this because it's good for America. It's good for America. But now the question then becomes, do you public servants and politicians actually want what's good for America? Or do you want the crime because that crime pays y'all?
Crime paying the individuals that putting the laws in place for it to go waver to their direction.
I mean, as a super villain, if you're being a super villain, it's a smart play.
Yeah, if you're a gangster.
A paperwork gangster.
If you're a gangster, that works.
Let's pretend like we really care for the communities. Let's write up the laws. Let's not tell them that the gun control was the racist thing. Then let's write up the laws to totally ignore the supreme law of the land while we preach law and order. Not tell the community that they have a human right to defend themselves, attempt to lock them up. Don't let them get too much information so they fight to overturn the unjust statutes. And we invest in the prisons and make deals with the prisons to say, we'll make sure that you have a certain amount of inmates in there to keep your profit margins going. If that's not supervillain shit, I don't know what is.
Kudos.
Dishonor.
That's all I can say. All I can say is kudos. Them guys is good.
Good.
Now, I get that. A lot of people ask me, before I came, I know I have a lot of people that I know that are disabled.
Yeah.
Does that affect their gun license? A person who is that they're in a wheelchair or they have ability where, let's say they don't have it. Let's say they're paralyzed from the neck down, but they just want a license to carry. They have a right to, like you said, it's the Second Amendment right for humans to have this.
Every single person that can handle firearms safely and responsibly, every single person, there is no caveat to the Second Amendment. You have a human right. Even the people that we absolutely... Rats have a human right to defend their life from people that want to kill them.
True.
And that's a hard stance to take because it's like, well, we don't care what happens to a rat. Right. But if we're going to be intellectually consistent, they have a human right to defend their life. And the government, I can't say government can't take a right and waver on that because it's for a person that I don't like. Everyone has a human right.
And that's deep because I'm glad you brought that up because it's almost like, okay, this guy becomes a stoolie and points out and he gets involved in crime, then somehow, some way, it wavers to the point where as though that guy doesn't even have to have a license, really, almost. They ignore the fact of that, but this felon who's actually paid day for day for his crime,
paid his debt to society,
and he doesn't have a right to.
That's why
But they'll swipe it away from them. I've been seeing it done. You will hear about it and be like, well, how did I don't understand? He got pulled over, and what happened next?
Yeah, 50,000 guns in his back seat.
They just let him go. They didn't even hear nothing about anything anymore. Where does the government begin to give us our rights back? How do we get our rights back, Maj? What did
They
we
never
do?
took them.
They never took them from
They
us.
they just tricked you into believing they could. It's the biggest. It's a spell. It's spelling. They casting spells. It's poker. If I could bluff you, I could beat you. If I don't tell you that this is the supreme law of the land, that's why they take civics out to schools, social studies. Fuck no, we're not telling them about the Constitution. Are you fucking kidding me? They'll start using that shit on us.
Right.
That's all I do.
Give them the story and let them feed off of that. They'll be okay.
So, when they wrote that, they didn't mean that for you. I don't give a fuck what they meant. This shit mine.
And you're teaching me it.
Right. What the fuck? No, it ain't mean it for you. No, I mean it for me. The thing is, they convince people. I forget what movie it was, man. It might have been End of Days with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He said, it was some movie. He said, the biggest trick that the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that he didn't exist.
Usual suspect.
With Kaiser Sose.
Kaiser.
Pete, that's what they did. If I have a human, this is the framework of America. Constitution, Declaration of Independence, Constitution, Bill of Rights. There's dudes like George Mason that fought to make sure that if you guys don't put the Bill of Rights with this Constitution, I'm going to argue against it. This was George Mason, founding father. There were people like Thomas Paine who influenced all of the founding fathers to this nation that was telling them they contradictions. Thomas Jefferson, you wrote the fucking Declaration of Independence, but you own humans. That's a fucking contradiction. They don't tell us that part of it.
Correct.
So if I can not tell people some shit, take it out to schools, and don't inform a certain demographic specifically, they can convince me that I don't have a human right to do a thing. Then over time, like when they was doing this shit, the mandate shit, right? A mandate is not a law. It's a decree. It's just some shit I'm saying. And if I get all of y'all to just agree with it, then now I can just go make it a law. So if I can bluff you, I can beat you. I can convince you.
Put the mask on. Go ahead, everybody. Oh, what city? Every state, they're all doing it. Come on, now we're putting it in there.
Now, 3 years later, by every metric, all of the places that was like, everybody that was like, yo, this shit don't really stop nothing. This ain't really even the left media is saying, yeah, the masks and all of that jab shit it ain't really do shit. Right? Now, if you took it, cool, you took it. I'm not bugging.
Right.
But if I could bluff you, I could beat you. It's the same concept. So they never took our rights. There's never going to be a time where if I catch a felony, right, and a motherfucker say, you can't carry a firearm, that time is never going to exist for me.
Exactly.
And I'm willing to fight this all the way up to the Supreme Court because I know y'all wrong. But again, if I could trick you, it's like a bully. I'm going to convince you. I'm going to just keep bluffing you into giving up your lunch money. And if I keep making you believe that, you're going to keep believing it.
Correct.
So they never took our rights. That's why so many of those cases get overturned.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Our people just got to be willing to go to court to fight the state. I'm saying if I have to go to court, right? I get arrested. Let's say I happen to be in New York. I get arrested. I have a gun every time I'm in New York. Every time. I stand on what I believe in. And if I get arrested, I'm going to catch a case. I'm going to catch a case in New York. Boom, 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 boom. They're going to charge me with having a firearm in New York. Well, they could charge me now, but we got that rule overturned in the state of New York. But hypothetically, right? I'm going to go to court and I'm going to present all of the evidence of gun control is racist. Here's the Bruin decision that was overturned. Da, da, da. But in that moment, that police officer probably is going to arrest me. Okay, cool. Let's go through the process. Let's come on and have it. If y'all ain't gonna give me a bail, cool. Let's hurry up and get me processed so I can get to my nap and my workout until I fight. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And I'm gonna fight you guys in court because I'm actually the person that's righteous in this space. You, as the government, y'all are actually a mafia. Y'all are a protection racket. Y'all are selling me my rights back to me in the form of a so-called license, right? If I go fishing and the game warden show up, and if I don't have that license, $20, look, I'm good. They arrest me or they tell me I got to stop fishing. But if I show them this piece of paper, now I'm good to do it. That's you selling my rights back to me. So you actually, government,
right?
Especially we talking about the United States government, you actually wrong. I'm absolutely going to fight you. I'm going to beat you all the way up in court.
All the way down.
That's the part that we have to be willing to say and do and go, I am willing to take this. It ain't no plea deal with me. We taking this shit to trial. I am putting what I am saying in the Supreme Court precedent, the case law. I am willing to put that up against every single thing. That's why I tweet. Yeah, I'm in New York. Yeah, I'm in such and such. Yeah, I'm in such and such. No, I do not have a license to carry in any state in America. If you want me to help you get one, cool. But I don't want one because the supreme law of the land for me is the Second Amendment. I am willing to take the next 10 years of my life to fight a case all the way up to the Supreme Court. Because the people are actually right. The founding documents to this place by them dudes with their contradictions, that is the framework. What you motherfuckers is trying to get us to do now is actually support this racist practice of gun control, and you ain't the moral authority to make that decision when your framework says the government does not grant those rights. But I'm just willing to go to court and fight them. That's all. That's why they don't fuck with me.
Rumble, young man, rumble. You gotta be able to fight, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Maj, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think if an individual watch this honorable episode of the Circle of Honor, they'll leave with training to figure out what's next after this.
Yeah.
They will have to get in contact with you.
Yeah.
They will have to find out a lot more.
I get kicked off of Instagram every so often. It's my fourth page. Majtoure 999. Majtoure 999. If you want to register for a class at the Solutionary Center in Philly, go to solutionarylifestyle.org. You can register on that site. If you want to teach a class on something that has nothing to do with firearms at all at the Solutionary Center, we make that space available to everyone for free. They can say, yo, I want to teach a class on urban gardening. I want to teach a class on incense making, whatever it is. Email us, solutionarylifestyle@gmail.com. Buy some merch, blackgunsmattershop.com. Twitter, Majtoure, Majtoure. And if you just, also, man, if you listen to this and you agree with some of the stuff, if you just going through some shit, bro, like the last 3 years, I think we getting out of it now, but the last 3 years was a really big fucking psychological operation. It pressed a lot of people, like threatened people with like, if you don't do this, we're gonna take your job.
Right.
If you don't do this, you can't get on a plane. That's why I bought the RV. I kept getting kicked off planes for not wearing a mask. But if you stressed, you made it through something that was not normal. That shit was a big, globally coordinated effort to break you.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And so if you're hearing this and if you're feeling some type of way, email me. Let's talk about it. Send me your number. Let's chop it up. Like, you ain't alone, man. We a community. And if that's something that you struggling with, and outside of firearms, especially if you're thinking about, because 60% of the deaths as it relates to firearms is suicides.
Wow.
They don't tell us that though.
More than violence.
So
what we claim and what people think.
It's suicides. So like those the people that I want to reach. If we trying to save some of those lives and heal some of that trauma, I want a chunk of them 60% of people that take their lives with firearms. So if you're going through something like that, one, know that you're not alone. Two, know that this was not no regular approach to people's minds, and you're well within your rights to be stressed right now. But we'd rather listen to your story and talk than read your obituary.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So just be kind to each other.
And that's an honorable fact.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. The Circle of Honor appreciate you. Leak Moss appreciate you. We're looking for, we got to have you back again.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure that we just want to talk. We want to have a big, circle really of some solid men.
Yeah.
We want you to, kind of point us in an honorable direction because we want to have different intellectual individuals here. We don't just want to have individuals that's from one community here. We want everybody here. That way we have every understanding. And I know one people we don't have to have here, one community of people in one state.
Yeah.
New Orleans. We don't have to bring them. They know what's going on, man.
They know.
We wore the Black Guns Matter clothes out there. Man, listen, if them laws is racist or whatever, them people wasn't racist to us. They was walking them to our home. Hey, you want to come to my home and have a drink? Yeah. Black Guns Matter. Tell Marge you said what's going on. Yeah. The ladies was coming up and, hey, Black Guns Matter. Yeah. And, it's always an honor to get that love and support from people. So we want to appreciate you for having that on the Circle of Honor podcast, man.
Thank you, my brother.
We appreciate it.
Absolutely.